My name is Justin Miller. I'm a veteran of the United States Army. I was medically retired after serving over 11 years in the military, and I'm now serving our veterans and their loved ones as a civilian. I'm the Deputy Executive Director and co-founder of the Objective Zero Foundation. We are a 501c3 that has created a free app that instantly and anonymously connects veterans, service members, their family members, and caregivers to one of almost 1,000 of our trained suicide prevention ambassadors in a time of need. I faced many challenges growing up as a child of divorced parents. I was exposed to many things at a young age that I shouldn't have been. I had several instances of childhood trauma that I knew weren't normal to most, but I hadn't realized the impact they had on my life until I became an adult and started seeking help to deal with my PTSD and depression. In the fall of 2018, I went to a program called Save a Warrior, where they gave me the Adverse Childhood Experience test. It was then I remembered playing doctor with these girls as a kid. There were 3 sisters who lived nearby me. The middle sister was old enough to be developing, but the youngest sister was my age. The middle sister would have us get undressed and play doctor with each other, at the age of 4. I was later threatened by their father when he found out and punished by my parents. Then other inappropriate moments with an adult came a couple years later. My best friend accidentally shot and killed himself when we were in the 4th grade. I was supposed to be at his house that night. By doing group therapy in school, I mentioned that and how things could have been different. Someone then said it was my fault because I didn't go over to his house, and that always stuck with me. My dad went to prison for 3 years when I was 7. I would always get laughed at because my dad didn't make it to career day at school. When my dad finally did get out of prison, I would do anything to have that bond with him and gain his approval. At 11 years old, I was introduced to marijuana and alcohol in the same day by my dad. He wanted me to do the things he was doing with him so that I wouldn't tell on him for doing them. When I was in the 7th grade, my 18-year-old uncle hung himself in the basement of his house. I was a wreck. My teachers could tell something was wrong and sent me to the office. I started to open up to my counselor and told her what had happened. She asked me if I could say one last thing to him. What would it be, and how did I feel? I told her I didn't know what to feel. My dad always told me boys don't cry, that if I wanted something to cry about, he would give me something to cry about. Before I could even think about it, the lunch bell rang. She said, "Well, there's the lunch bell. You should probably go. Think about what it is I said," and she walked me to the door. After my traumatic childhood, I tried to stay numb and intoxicated all the time. During SAWS, when I realized I was repeating the cycle with my children, and then decided it was time to break that cycle. I went to war for the first time at the age of 20. I spent a total of 27 months in Iraq between 2 deployments. During that time, I was involved in many explosions, causing back injuries and traumatic brain injuries. I saw things that one should never see, leave me with nightmares, depression, and anxiety. I was also left behind in a house during a mission and had to physically fight to get back to my men. I was later punished and pushed to another platoon to save them. This left me with trust and abandonment issues. 2 deployments had me feeling completely broken and like a piece of me will always be missing no matter how hard I try to put myself back together. One of the major events that sticks in my mind was 11 November of 2004 when a VBID killed Staff Sergeant Huey. A young boy and his sister were also killed in front of me. I also had to shoot a warning shot at a man that was carrying his son that was critically wounded and later died. That warning shot crushed me. I felt like I took everything away from that man, and it destroyed my life. Not long before that day, those 2 kids were playing in an alley, and we were on a dismounted patrol. As we were walking towards them, they grabbed our hands and started pulling us in a different direction. We called the interpreter up after setting security up and found out that there was a bomb buried in the middle of the road that we were about to walk over. And these 2 little kids, with no worry of their own safety, pulled us aside and let us know, saving all of our lives. It has been torture knowing that I wasn't able to do the same for them in return. That specific incident changed things for me as a father for years to come. I believe that if I wasn't able to help those kids, how would I ever be a good father to my own? For years, I tried to stay distant to my two young kids. I had a short fuse with them. When they would cry, it would trigger old memories from war, and I'd become angry. I made myself believe that they would be better off without me. However, Saul taught me that the best way to help others is to help yourself. Once you learn to process and understand that childhood trauma wasn't your fault, you then begin the healing process. This healing process will affect the 7 generations in the past and 7 generations ahead. Once I realized it was okay to talk about what I've been through and started dealing with my PTSD, my relationship with my kids started to change. I now make an effort to make time for my children and connect with them over things that they're passionate about, i.e. coaching their softball and baseball teams. I also make it an effort to remind my children that they are enough, that I'm proud of them, and that I fully support them in the path they choose. I want them to know that they should never feel that they need to do anything in life to gain my approval. I make it a point to start conversations with them about random topics so I can get an insight on the people they're becoming. This also makes them more comfortable with sparking up future conversations with me. My hope is for more veterans to open up about the struggles they're dealing with day to day so we can end the suicide epidemic. My nonprofit, Objective Zero, was started after I almost took my own life. I felt like I had no one to talk to that would understand what I was going through at the time. Because of my darkest moments, we created an app to do just that. Nearly 1,000 people have signed up to lend a non-judgmental ear and talk through the hard times with those who have dedicated their lives to this country. It is going to require a culture shift for us to see a difference. People need to quit feeling ashamed and embarrassed about their trauma. By not talking about our trauma, it gives that event power over you. The more we talk about these issues, the more people will feel open to asking for help and talking about their struggles. What made the difference to me is when I was going to church looking for an answer, and I was having it downright out with God, and I was mad at him. And I heard clear as day, quit feeling sorry for yourself. Look at everything I pulled you through. What good is it to know an answer to a secret if you keep it a secret? Share your struggles to give others hope and strength to push forward. Thank you.
Mr. Miller, thank you for your service, but more importantly, thank you for signing up to help the people who have served and the people who have gone through experiences like all of you have shared. Could you just briefly tell us a little bit more about this app that you've worked on that could help other people who are contemplating taking their own lives?
Yes, sir. So the night that I almost committed suicide, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. So you don't want to be a burden to somebody. I had no clue who to talk to. So I just tried to do what I was always told, is to suck it up, drink water, and drive on. So after calling the VA, telling them that I almost killed myself, was placed on hold, scheduled an appointment for 2 days later. I just felt like I was completely abandoned. A phone call from an old leader lasted about 6 hours, and he kind of just gave me a different purpose and a direction. So we got my story published to, let others know that they weren't alone. The app idea was given to us. Originally, it was like Yelp for veterans, but while doing research, found out most veterans, when they decide to commit suicide, to do it within the first 5 minutes. So we're like, we don't have time for them to try to find a resource, call, be put on hold, sent to voicemail. We're like, we need something that's instant. And people that are active duty are afraid to go get help, because if you get diagnosed with PTSD, you're non-deployable. Once you're non-deployable, they don't need you anymore. So we're like, we need something that's instant and anonymous, something that they can just pick up a phone, touch of a button, be connected to somebody who cares, not there for a paycheck, somebody who just wants to listen to you and let you know that you're loved and how important you are and how needed you are. So right now we have almost 1,000 trained volunteers that are there just to answer a phone. We have over 4,000 people that are using the app. Like I said, touch of a button, voice, video, or text. They can instantly connect with somebody. The app's live, so if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you open the app, you can see who's available to answer that call.
Can you tell us the name of the app before I yield back my time?
Objective Zero.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Miller.